Making a video. I wasn't really going to, but my destiny changed. I did notice the Modern Mystic had posted a video 3 weeks ago called Trouble 3, where he plays 2 minutes of my explanation regarding Hafladay's interpretation of determinism. And I thought I rather eloquently and well stated the fact that determinism doesn't mean things don't happen. They don't have to happen in a sequence or an order. Like you have to get in the car and you have to put the key in the ignition and turn the ignition before you can steer the car, and the motor has to be running, and there's a sequence to things and an order, and that part of what's happening is a kind of is part of what our conversation and interaction with each other has something to do with. We're influencing each other in a way that might change the sequence of events in some sort of way that makes it more probable that we'll be able to get out of the driveway because we'll do it in the right order, kind of a thing. That there's no outcome without the participation of the players, and their participation has to be a certain thing they have to do. The key has to not break. If the key breaks, then the car doesn't start. That kind of thing. The key can't go missing. The key can't say, I'm tired, I'll go sit on the couch. Then the game doesn't happen. The war doesn't get won if people don't show up, and they're not going to show up unless they're motivated, and they might not be motivated unless somebody else makes them motivated. Alright, so today a weird thing happened, so coincidental to this, this determinism thing. Somebody showed up from YouTube, a fan, sort of, maybe, mostly, probably, and just kind of in the not ideal way of surprise. I'm at your house, and it's okay, and it's but it is a determinism kind of thing in the sense that it changes your day. Okay, I mean, I had certain things I was going to do, and so for a couple hours I couldn't do those things. Because somebody else decided I was going to go do something else, which is talk to them, and that's okay. Like I said, it wasn't. It's not horrible, but it's not polite. Let's put it that way. I don't think. But in a sense, sometimes it's required. So that argument can be always made that sometimes rudeness works, sometimes in your face works, sometimes murder works. I mean, it's just a fact. Sometimes assassination is a good idea. It just happens to be that way. It works out better that way. It would have been worked out probably better if Hitler got assassinated. Anyway, so and the conversation was basically about his impression that I'm as is some other people's impression. So I was a little bit less than thrilled with the conversation because I really just don't care for other people backseat driving. That there's some great opportunity here for us to accomplish something, and somehow I'm just not organizing people properly, or not fostering or doing this in the right sequence or whatever. Saying the right thing at the right time in the right way, or that somehow I should be calling the celebrities and getting their endorsements and whatever I should be doing. Something different, not what I'm doing, would be the answer. And I'm not necessarily defending that I'm doing it right. I'm just saying that these other plans are a little bit under defined and described to be something worthy of investment. I mean, they're not compelling in my opinion. as plans. Okay, the get a celebrity endorsement plan is sort of like the underwear gnomes from South Park. I mean, okay, yeah, I'm not opposed. What do I do? Break into their house and extort them? How exactly you do this? Get your endorsement. But anyway, so I'm just saying it was just a great illustration, though, how this that we're all butterflies and we're all moving air and we're all affecting other people and we're all changing the world. And the argument I would make is that if the world's going to be a better place than it is, we have to have these better conversations and say better things and be more inspiring or motivating or do a better job, or you just end up with more of the same, of the slop we have. Change doesn't come just by complaining. You have to do something. Like I said, the people had to go to the war and get killed and shit. It's not a, it's not a minor risk and sacrifice. Big difference between doing something and not doing something. And yes, not doing something is really cool and fun, but it isn't going to work. And I don't know why somebody as clever as this mystical guy wouldn't be able to understand that. Just kind of silly. I mean, of course, we're going to do what we're going to do, and we're going to do it as if it was the only thing we could possibly do. Of course, that's the way it's going to happen from our perception. But I'm just saying, we do know the mechanics of it are, you have to have the interactions that make that possible. Somebody has to step on your toe, and then you look down and you see the bubblegum wrapper on the ground, and it happens to be a really good Bazooka Joe episode, where Bazooka Joe creates a great organization that takes over the world, and you say, without that bubblegum wrapper I wouldn't know how to do it. See, this kind of stuff happens. You have to bump into other people and other memes that change you and motivate you and inspire you. And again, on the subject of the modern mystic, it was in conversation with him that I came to the realization that I have more power to affect other people, to mess up their head, than I have power to do any of this will thing, or free willing, or power willing, or any of that crap. I can't make that where I can, in all kinds of ways, fuck with somebody else's destiny. I can't really fuck with my own. That part is kind of mechanical and running. And until something from the outside fucks with me, I'm not fuckable, quote unquote. Yeah, I can't do it myself. Something else has to fuck my brain. And I think these are all rock solid arguments, and the mystic doesn't really argue in any kind of direct way, which is really quite bizarre for somebody who kind of, you get the impression that he would have some appreciation for a well-articulated argument, not one sitting in the fog of some sort of obscurity and some sort of abstraction. His art is very abstract. Playing my video, entitling it Trouble 3, when Trouble 2 was a year ago. And the implication of the title has to do with a whole context that very few people are going to remember, that there's some sort of trouble with this language of talking about decisions brains make and how they make them. Again, I'm not arguing that we have a choice. I'm arguing that we are byproducts of the interactions, and that for us to act we have to have a reason to act. That we have to think certain things in certain order. Again, people don't go to war because they say, I feel like going to war. They go to war because somebody makes an argument or some other circumstance pressures them and gives them cause to go to war. But they just don't do it because they see it on the deterministic chalkboard. It says, oh yes, I go to a war. Yes, I know that's in my future. No, they don't know it till they get to the circumstance that, and they make the calculation, and the calculation will be based on who's watching, who knows them, who understands them, and what they understand about what's an acceptable world to live in. But it's, you know, the sequence is the sequence. It will happen. Okay, I will or will not. I'll get up. I'll go sit in the car. I'll put the key in the ignition. The key will break or the key won't break. I mean, all these things will happen, and they'll happen for reasons. But it's kind of silly to say that we can't see the reasons ahead of time and understand that if the key is broken when I leave the house, there's no point in sticking it in the ignition. If human beings are distracted by voodoo and silly God theories and nonsense, it's like seeing the broken key right in your hand. You're saying, we're not going to start any good engines with that nonsense. That nonsense can't create a better future. It's a broken key. And so we have to argue about it, because we have to fix that key before we even... No point in walking to the car, because this key won't work. And we can see that ahead of time, and we can have a conversation about it. And it's just bullshit for you people to imply, without even directly even saying it, that somehow that doesn't have to happen. Bullshit, it doesn't have to happen. People have to say to people, dumbasses like half a day. They have to say, you're doing it wrong, jackass. You're thinking bad, fuckhead. Okay, yeah. You know, brains don't work that way. They have to have the interactions. They have to have the conversation. That shapes the key. That makes the key work. The key doesn't work. People don't go to war. Things don't happen unless people talk about it and persuade other brains. Infect them with an idea. And this is the only way to infect each other with ideas, is for the idea to roll in my brain and come out of my fucking mouth in some sort of verbal form, and then you receive it in your ears, and it reforms the idea in your brain, and you say, oh yeah, that is a good idea. That has to fucking happen. And the world won't be the same place if that happens or if that doesn't happen. I will argue that the world wouldn't be the same place if the words, judge a man based on the content of his character, not the color of his skin, were never spoken. If the words, do unto others as you'd have others do unto you, was never spoken. There'd be different worlds then. So words are a fucking important part of our determinism if it's going to be inevitable and determined that we're not going to be shitheads. Now, if you want a world that's going to be shitty, where the car never starts, then yeah, keep talking your bullshit, that it doesn't matter what we say, and it doesn't matter what we think, and it doesn't matter how we think. Yeah, it does. We have to say the words. The meme doesn't spread if you just keep it in your own head. Ooh, give a hoot, don't pollute. That was pretty good. The meme doesn't spread if you don't let it out of your head. Yeah. It's the way it works. Is there some other argument you're making? Are you misunderstanding what I'm saying? I'm not saying I'm making something. I'm combining what I've been exposed to. I get exposed to the word it, and then I get exposed to the word give a shit, and I can put it, give a shit, I can put them together and make something. But what I make is inevitable and logical and connected to rules and all that kind of stuff. I don't make complete gobbledygook. I make something that's, I can speak it and then you can reconstruct it. It's coherent to some sort of rules. And I do that. Yeah, it's not, I don't create it like a god creates a human being. I create it by doing logical math in my head. My brain adds up, associates a color red with fire. Okay, and a color red with blood. And a color red with, I don't know, Chinaman. And all of a sudden, ooh, I hate the color red. Yeah. Bloody fire. Bloody Chinaman on fire. Yeah, so it doesn't like the color red now. Now, I didn't make that happen in my brain if it happens, but it does have to happen. It's part of how I become the machine I am. Robot who talks about how you fucking sadistic lunatics ought to grow a brain and figure out that there's an awful lot at stake here. And if you just keep talking, la 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 la, I don't have to pay any attention to anything. I don't have any role to play here. I'm not the key maker or the key fixer. I'm just some jackass with his head up his ass who spouts stupid opinions that he doesn't think mean anything or have any influence on anything or change anything. Fuck. So, anyway, so that gets this whole subject of conflict and organization. It sort of gets back to the whole Thunderfoot fighting with his little Sargon buddy, his little the little woman haters who can't get along, just like the feminists can't get along, the wacky ones, just, people just point at them and go, God, you knock it off, you're just fucking the cause, jackass. It's like somebody can be for animal rights, but they're not for some asshole throwing blood on people, and then the same thing in these kind of causes. People can be for a right to die. Well, the right to die is, yes, you already have to be terminally ill for 7 years and go through 14,000 tests and MRIs and psychological evaluations. And of course, after you've done all of that, you've already been a corpse for 10 years. But, and they think that's a right to die, where other people would say, no, the right to die is something more fundamental. The right to think life is a piece of shit, to think it's not some glory of God thing, to see it as a bug planet with a bunch of selfish cunt Weasley bugs. And I'm looking at you, mystic, who aren't very bright and can't figure out the obvious thing, like, yes, there's a lot at stake here, and yes, we have to indulge our little selfish gameplay because that's the only way we can stay interested. We have to keep the pinball bouncing around, and so we have to waste a lot of time just keeping the ball moving. But the theme is we should try to migrate it in the right direction while we're having our pleasure cruise. Once in a while we should do something constructive that might also be fun. Yeah. Fight for a cause in a fun way, like how people fight against breast cancer by having their little fun marches, and they have a little social thing, and they cry a little, and they laugh a little, and la 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 la, and we bake some cakes shaped like a breast, and, muffins shaped like muffins. Yeah, they have to put porn in everything, it's, yes. I mean, it's just so bad. Speaking of porn, it was kind of funny. That was another funny thing. Every now and then I take a look at the Young Turks channel just to see if they got anything interesting to say. And, they've gotten kind of tacky, right? So they're doing these bleed that leads kind of stories, wacky, guy has hands sewn in chest or something. And they're like, who fucking cares? Somebody, what if you want to marry yourself? Some kind of bullshit like that. So they had some kid who got knocked off a pier, right? I mean, a 6-inch pier. by a sea lion, right? So the seal just went up and probably thought there was something to eat there and just tried to, grab the shirt a little, pulled her, knocked her over, right? So she fell into the water. Somebody was videotaping it, right? Now, well, she falls, backwards, and they, basically took upskirt video of a kid, a girl, I don't know, 12 years old or something, who knows? It was it was basically kiddie porn, and they're playing it. You're just saying nobody could figure out. I mean, as soon as I saw that, I'm saying, why did you do that? You just upskirted that kid. I mean, it was porny. I mean, it was. Yeah, it's not where your eyes should be going. And I'm saying, and it's a woman doing the story, and you're saying she can't even figure out you shouldn't be showing, a 12-year-old girl's panties. I mean, so they finally took the video down for what, probably because somebody informed them that, I'm jerking off to this picture, and so they figured out, oh, we didn't notice. We're so obtuse. We're so disconnected from reality. We've got our heads so far up, alien asses, whatever, alien Americans. Americans who don't really want to be Americans. The resident aliens. We actually have people, that's their distinction, resident alien. And so they come to the country and they just stay here forever as a resident alien. What the fuck? Yeah, it's just so bad, so fucked up. And what, nobody, so, but that's the thing, right? Some nobody has to say anything, and then nothing changes, and somebody says something, and something changes. But yeah, that's what happens. This whole idea that everybody stays exactly who they are without ever having a conversation with anybody, or watching a TV show, or watching a movie, or doing anything. We all are just born something, and that's what we are forever and ever, and nothing can change it ever, forever. It's just bullshit. I mean, how can somebody with fucking gray facial hair fall for that? I mean, god damn. I wouldn't be this kind of dismissive and hostile if it wasn't just the obscureness, of titling a video Trouble 3. It just, what does that mean? How can that mean anything to anybody? And you just play the video. It's just a clip of me talking for 2 minutes on a subject, as if there's some kind of, as if every word in those 2 minutes is somehow fatally flawed, fundamentally flawed and illogical, and that somehow you don't even need to make the argument. It's so obviously illogical for somebody to talk about the fact that part of the determinism is motivating our motivations, and part of our motivations is the people who have influenced us, and the ideas we've heard, and the movies we've seen, and the themes we've heard explained. I just don't understand how somebody can't understand that, and that's how decisions are made. They're made through that process, and that process has a general tendency in a direction of us becoming more edified and intelligent over time. There's some evidence that that's taking place. Some evidence. Frankly, current conditions, Trump as president, obviously people aren't too fucking smart. I don't think people 200 years ago would fall for that one. Let's let the billionaire run things. He'll do what's the best for all of us. So yeah, you fight a revolution to get away from the king, and then you let something worse than the king run the show. It's just pathetic. So, I don't know if there's much else I have to say. So, I hope the visitor guy got home okay. It was kind of an extraordinary way he got here, and just, not the best laid plan, I'd say. But anyway, interesting experience. Um, but, did force me, in a sense, this video wouldn't be made without his influence. And that's the truth of our lives. And so he'd like me to say something like, you people ought to understand that everything that lives or dies, anything that suffers tomorrow, it may be because you didn't do anything. You could have done something and you didn't. And can you explain that? Can you defend that while you defend your right to life? Can you defend the way you step on the things that are going to be harmed by the system you feed on? And if you're going to sit there and defend your life and defend living, then make the argument explaining how it's okay that those victims are what you have an entitlement. You're better than them. You're worth more. I don't think you can do any of that. I would make the sea turtle argument that we're already done. All I have to do is put 10,000 baby sea turtles on the table, and then I'll hand you a knife, and then you can explain to me why you killed the 10,000 turtles, how you're worth it. I'm saying the sea turtle isn't worth it. The one turtle that gets to live. So we take one turtle and we put it in the bowl. That's the one that gets to live. The rest die. So go ahead, kill them. Show me that you know you're worth it. Because you're not. You know it. You don't play this fucking game. But that's what happens every day on this planet. Is stuff slips through our fingers. Stuff slips through our capacity to care because not enough people force us to care. Not enough people point out how, well, if you don't go to the war, Hitler wins, and then he comes for us. Yeah, he's killing them first, but he's going to come for us. And so it's in your interest to fight now when they're alive and they can help you fight. But once they're dead, you can't, they're not going to be able to help you win. Then it's all going to be on you. Some kind of argument that persuades you that it's time to, put up and, put on your walking boots and start walking. And like I said, we're all in this, it's very difficult living. It's very difficult to sit here and try to find enough optimism and enough something to enjoy to make up for the part that is just outright disgusting, scary, horrid. Just thinking about all the things I've known that have I've known in some personal way in my life and had to watch them die. And, that's not pleasant. But the truth is, we have to motivate each other to have respect for that price, because it's going to keep being paid. If we don't keep talking about it and throwing it in each other's faces, then people are going to just glibly and easily slide into some perception that what they're doing doesn't have anything to do with all of that. That somehow I'm a wonderful person and my life is charming talk doesn't have anything to do with all that pain and suffering that's going to be tomorrow's echo of their little happy conversation today. It's fun making bombs. It's no fun having one dropped on you. I'm sure the nuclear guys making the atomic bomb, I'm sure they had some fun. Hey, look, we're making atomic bombs. It's kind of fun. Obviously the people killed, there were some people killed in the process that irradiated and such. They didn't have a very good time. But everybody else felt very important and probably thought, wow, we're right on the cutting edge of doing something so big and important and blah, 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 blah. And they all felt very, very, we're winning the war, we're winning the war. Yeah. Because they weren't the Japanese people, the civilians damn things were dropped on. But anyway, that's another too obvious a subject. It's, you're almost saying, well, as soon as you have to start saying, pointing something like that out, it's just like, oh, come on. There's no hope for this key. You're never going to fix the key because it's made out of the cheapest aluminium in the universe. I mean, it just it might as well be made out of a new metal called breakable. Breakatonium, you know, that's all it is. So anyway, I think that's probably enough of a video. But yeah, organization is tough to do. It's hard to keep. It's hard to keep everything clear and untainted, and to keep ego out of things, to avoid any kind of rhetoric that is a non-starter for somebody, to be exclusive. You know, it's a very difficult negotiation. Negotiating. It's like being allies, right? I mean, look at the problem. I mean, we won World War II with the Russians as allies, and as soon as the war was over, we're just sitting there insulting the fuck out of them, and vice versa, I'm sure. But I mean, it's, this is such a tragedy of our dilemma. But for the like-minded people, I've sort of argued, it's just that this is just it's like anything else. You gotta fight for it, and this is it's just not, there's not a snap your finger solution to making this unpleasant conversation interesting and intriguing, and worthy of a listen by people who are saying to themselves, I'm doing just fine, I got mine. What's all these whiny social justice complainy types? And that's what we're up against. People who it comes too easy to, being just totally unrealistic about the real risks and the real liabilities and the real problems that exist in the game we have created. The game of interaction. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, you can just, like I said, yeah, it comes to mind just the obvious things. Again, I'm automatically a feminist just because I have a penis. I know I have a huge advantage. How can I not cut a woman a break for that reason alone? And like I said, there's the other ones, the horrible period in the pregnancy and all the emotional shit. They have the hormonal issues. No, thank you very much. But anyway, I don't want to taint this video with that, because that's just going to be people's obsession, because we have one thing on their mind, and that's women hurt my feelings, and so I hate them, and I want to key their cars, and they're just too fucking petty, because a woman hurt their feelings. But anyway, yeah, that's enough. Because they're too high maintenance, because they actually demand something like respect, and these are the people who are so used to just calling everybody a dude, and they're just the Thunderfoot types, very full of themselves. I mean, that's the thing that's so obvious, is that these chauvinistic types, anti-SJW types, they all have that in common, right? Fake Sagan, Thunderfoot, whatever he is of a cod, fish head. They're all full of themselves. And they don't want the problem. They just want something to be a servant. They want something to bow to them, stroke and polish their magnificence. And they don't want the duty to be a servant to something else's needs. And yeah, it's that kind of simple. Don't want a fair exchange. They want a bargain. So anyway, yeah, now that's probably enough. Weird times, that's all you can say. I just I wouldn't have predicted I would have this tired eyeball syndrome, which I just, my eyes do not want to stay open. And Trump is president, and there's just so many irrational people. Yeah. So anyway, a lot of things I wouldn't have predicted. So anyway, that's enough. Till next time. And such. No, and generally speaking, I have these ideas about organizing, but again, it has to be a genuine process, not a fake process. You don't organize around an individual. You organize around ideas. And part of the problem so far is that there's too many people wanting a president of the ideas or something. They don't want to have to do the democracy. They want somebody to do it for them. Something like that. And yeah, it's got to be something people understand, not something people agree with. So the agreement's got to be more than just, I like that man's timber or something, whatever that means. It's got to be more than he's got a great hat. It's got to go deeper than that. And that's where you find how difficult this is, because smart people, you would think, they fit into that category, can think some really dumb things. And that's a problem. Alright, so anyway, I think that's enough. Well, whether I think it or not probably isn't terribly important. The thing that will be important is the end result, which it will be enough, whether I think it or not in this case. Yeah, I'm going to hit the button. Either way. So, in that sense, sometimes it just doesn't matter what you think. But most of the time, it's going to matter. You have to intentionally go to the car door and intentionally open the door and intentionally stick the key in the ignition. You have to think all of those things have something to do with the outcome of I get to the store or something like that. And that's the way it really works. And if you don't do those things on purpose, you're probably not going to do those things in the right order, and therefore you're not going anywhere. So anyway, now I'm satisfied. That's enough. Yeah, mostly.